guys, thanks for watching. I'm Saumya. So in today's video, I'm going to be recommending some wonderful titles that you should check out this summer because these books are so amazing. So let's get started. On my channel Saumya's Bookstation, I make a lot of bookish content. So if you are a book lover, make sure to hit that subscribe button and do not forget to press the bell icon. My first recommendation is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. So this book is non-fiction and it is an autobiographical memoir by Paul Kalanithi. He was actually a neurosurgeon who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer at the age of 36. So he had an entire bright future in front of him. He had a very promising career, but one day his life just completely changed when he found out that he was diagnosed with this terminal illness. So he wrote this particular book, When Breath Becomes Air. What makes reading this book an extremely emotional experience, besides the obvious, is that he was not able to complete this book while he was alive. He died while writing this book and it was published posthumously after his death. So this book is divided into two parts. The first part is where Paul Kalanithi talks about his life prior to getting diagnosed with cancer, and the second part is about his life after he was diagnosed with cancer. So Paul Kalanithi was a son, he was a husband, and he was a father. And in this book he has talked about how he spends his remaining days. He didn't know that how long he had. He knew that his days were numbered, but there was no specific time period. To say that this book makes you cry would be an understatement because of the subject of the book. It's philosophical, it's emotional, it moves you to the core, and I highly recommend this title. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. My next recommendation is Normal People by Sally Rooney. So it's a story of two people named Marianne and Connell who study in the same high school. So they're completely opposite in their personalities. Marianne is unpopular in her school and Connell is very popular, but both of them are attracted to each other, so they get into a secret relationship. So Normal People is a story about how their relationship progresses through the years because they end up going to the same college. So Marianne has an unconventional personality and Connell has a very regular kind of a personality, but they both have their challenges. And I'm recommending this book because I feel this story is absolutely beautifully complex, which completely invests the reader in the plot. Sometimes you feel very frustrated by the behaviors of the character, but it's a good frustration. It's the kind of frustration that makes you want to get ahead in the story. It makes you want to know what is going to happen next. And I love how flawed this entire plot line is and how flawed their characters are, because that's how life is. Life is difficult and it's almost impossible to figure it out, and yet we keep going, and that is what happens in case of Normal People. Both Marianne and Connell as individual characters and both Marianne and Connell as a unit are very engaging to read about. Now, after recommending two heavy and serious books, I would like to recommend a light-hearted story to you guys, which is To All the Boys I Have Loved Before Trilogy by Jenny Han. So I listened to these books as audiobooks on the Storytel app last year. Actually, the thing is that I had read the first two books on Kindle and in PDF actually, and I had listened to the third book in this trilogy on the Storytel app, and I had enjoyed it so much that I went back and listened to the first two books as well, because it was such a wonderful experience, because the way the narrator read these stories out, it really ended up breathing a life into the story and into the characters by the way she emoted all the characters. And another reason for me to listen to these books as audiobooks on Storytel was that these books as paperbacks were extremely expensive, so it was not feasible and economical for me, so I ended up listening to them as audiobooks. And in fact, all the books that I'm recommending in this video are available on Storytel app, so if you want to save money and if you want to check them out, you can do so. You can get all these books on Amazon as well, but as I told you, they will be quite expensive, so I don't want you to get discouraged when you look them up on Amazon, so I'm saying that you can try them on Storytel if you want, and I've left the link for the 30-day free trial in the description box. Now, moving on with my recommendation, To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han is actually a very sweet and adorable story of a 16-year-old Lara Jean who is a shy girl who likes to bake, and she's a good student. And whenever Lara Jean has a crush on a boy, she doesn't tell him. Instead, she writes him a letter which she never posts and keeps in her hat box. But one day, all 5 of her letters to her 5 crushes are posted by someone. She doesn't know who does that, but that leads to her love life spiraling completely out of her control, and we are introduced to different characters who are extremely likable and endearing. And in fact, this story as a whole is quite endearing and cheesy in a very sweet, nice kind of a way. So this is a story for those people who are looking for something to bring a smile to their face and cheer them up. My next recommendation is actually not for everybody. It is only for people who are willing to experiment or who are willing to completely surrender to the story written by the writer without questioning anything. And the book is The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. But this book is weird and arresting at the same time. So this is actually a novella, and the story begins with a young boy going to a library to return some books, and he wishes to borrow new books. So when he reaches the library, he's told that he can borrow new books by entering a certain room. So he reaches that room and he finds an intimidating old man there. And the old man gives him bad vibes. So he feels like running away from the library, but he's not able to because the old man doesn't let him go. So he's forced to tell the old man that he wants books based on the tax collection during Ottoman Empire, and the old man ends up bringing 3 volumes. So from here the story moves forward in a very weird and a very different sort of a way. This story explores the themes of loneliness in human lives, and as I said, if you use your rational mind, the story won't make any sense. So you completely have to surrender to the imagination of Haruki Murakami, and if you do, you end up having a nice experience in a weird sort of a way. So this is not a regular book, so why not try something different this summer? My next recommendation is actually a Hindi book called Chitralekha by Bhagwati Charan Verma, and I've reviewed this book on my channel. You can check out my review if you want. So Chitralekha is a story that explores the answer to the question that what is sin. The disciple asks his guru that what is sin. So the Mahaguru feels that the best way to get the answer to this question is to experience the world. So the Mahaguru sends both his disciples on different paths to explore the answer to the question that what is sin. And as the story progresses, we get to meet other characters as well, and we get to meet the protagonist, whose name is Chitralekha. She is a beautiful royal dancer and is famous in the kingdom of Patliputra. Alongside her, we also get to meet Bijgupt, who is a commander in the Mauryan army. So Chitralekha is a story in which a lot of things are taking place, which keeps the reader engaged, and also it is philosophical because of the subject of the book, and it has raised some questions that are relevant even in today's time, which makes it a book worth spending your time on. My final recommendation is a story that everybody should know because it's really hard-hitting, by a very famous author, and the book is Toba Tek Singh by Saadat Hasan Manto. So this is a short story that is taking place after the time of partition of India, and this is a seemingly simple story, but it ends up having a huge impact on the reader because of the underlying gravity that it has. So the governments of both India and Pakistan decide to exchange the Hindu, Sikh and Muslim lunatics. So the story is actually taking place in an asylum in Lahore. There is a Sikh inmate there who keeps muttering some enigmatic gibberish, and he belongs to a place called Toba Tek Singh, which became a part of Pakistan after partition. So this is a story about the adverse effects of partition on the people. You never end up forgetting where you come from, and this is something that has been portrayed very strongly by the story. So guys, these are some recommendations that you should definitely check out this summer, and if you are not going to check them out, then what will you do? These are the stories that you should be exploring, trust me. So the last 2 recommendations, Chitralekha and Toba Tek Singh, can be listened to as audiobooks on Storytel by those people who cannot read Hindi and Urdu but can understand when they listen to these languages. So you will not miss out on these wonderful stories. And as I mentioned before, the link to the 30-day free trial of Storytel is in my description box. After that, it's only rupees 299 per month. So that was it for my video. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.